You've been looking at today's Air Force. Engineers and machines, pilots and aircraft. A combination of special skills and sophisticated equipment that enables the RNZAF to fly alongside the best air forces in the world.